All right, folks, welcome to Outlaw Alchemy, the only podcast where we dig up ancient alien dirt and somehow make it sound like family therapy. I'm Jack, your resident sarcastic dumbass, and if you think Anunnaki sounds like a rejected Pokemon name, you're in good company. I preview the notes on this episode, and I can tell you it's going to blow you away. Today, Rusty's about to drop some timelines that make my head hurt. Lizard people engineered by Dracos 2.4 billion years ago on some planet called Thuban. 3 massive metal ships hauling 90,000 beings each through a plasma wormhole. One of them 200 miles long, still buried under Greenland ice. Rusty, take it away before I start asking if the Anunnaki invented reality TV or why my DNA feels like it's got ancient beef with Orion.
Exactly, Jack. And if you're new here, hit pause right now, go to devinecollectives.org and grab Steve Cates' groundbreaking book, Echoes of Maldek and Lemuria's Reawakening. This episode is built on its foundation, but we're going deeper, outlaw style, into the full truth the Ra Collective, Elohim, Hathors, and Seraphim are downloading through Steve right now. With me, as always, is the man who asks every question the rest of us are too polite to voice.
So, Rusty, if you're about to tell me the lizard people from Orion crashed our planetary party, started a cosmic custody battle over humanity, and are still pulling strings through bloodlines and fake religions, then yeah, I'm all ears. Because something in my chest has been aching for answers my whole life, and this book keeps hitting that spot like it was written for me.
That ache, Jack, that tender fire behind the sternum the book opens with, that's exactly why we're here. Steve's own story starts in 1995, drowning in addiction, rage, and religious confusion. He fell to his knees beside his bed, tears carving rivers down his face, and a presence. Vast, tender, like the warmest light on the darkest winter morning, rested a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "Don't be afraid. I have you. I am here. Fear no more." That moment cracked the veil for him, and today, the same collective that caught him is revealing the full Anunnaki chapter of our story. Not the twisted myths, the real one. The one that explains why so many of us feel like strangers in our own skin, why certain bloodlines seem untouchable, and why the light forces, all of them incarnate right now, are here to finish what Maldek and Lemuria started.
Whoa. Okay, that hit different. So start at the beginning, Rusty. Before the Anunnaki even showed up, what was Tal, and how did that set the whole domino chain in motion?
Tal, or what NASA would call Kepler 62G if it was still there, was a water world of liquid light in the man system, orbiting a gentle orange star. The veil there was thin, almost non-existent. Souls remembered enough to choose quickly, openly, with the whole heart. Almost everyone chose service to others, radiant, selfless love. They rose through the densities like children on a sunlit hill. Steve remembers being there as a Zanate, tall, semi-luminous, deep blue skin that caught the light like ocean depths. He lived there with his grandson. His son was an Anunnaki, a reptilian, who had revolted against the Dracos. That father-son bond across species was already forging the soul contracts that would carry them through every lifetime since. But free will had to be honored. Insectoids came first to Tal, then reptilians. They evolve, grow, and flourish much faster than mammals, and that's exactly why they overpowered the gentle mammalian harmony there. Visitors from other systems, young reptilian souls choosing service to self with fierce intensity, were drawn like moths to a light, The friction shattered Tal 1.5 billion years ago. The planet exploded into an asteroid belt that still circles Kepler 62 today. A broken necklace of grief we feel tugging at our hearts whenever we look at the night sky and cry for no reason we can name.
Wait, Steve's son was a full-on reptilian Anunnaki who revolted against the Dracos? How the hell did that family dinner table even work? And how the hell did they get all the way here from some binary star system nobody's heard of?
Steve's son, along with other rebel Anunnaki, helped build 3 massive metal ships, each one carrying roughly 90,000 beings. Keep in mind that pretty much every star system has a twin star. We call this a binary system, and in the middle of that spinning system, a vortex is created that connects to every other binary star system. We will have to do a whole episode on that highly controversial statement. They escaped through a plasma wormhole created in the middle of the binary star system itself, coming from the Man system, now known as Kepler 62. One ship went to the Pleiades. Steve's son was on it. One ship went to Sirius. Steve and his grandson were on it. And one ship came to our solar system. That ship is 200 miles long and 55 miles wide, and it's still buried under the ice in Greenland today. The tall survivors, the mammalian ones like Steve, could not live as far out as the reptilians' original first stop on Nibiru, so the Anunnaki rebels, who were reptilians, terraformed Nibiru. Not Mars like many have suggested, but Nibiru. Nibiru orbits our sun past the end of our known solar system and takes over 5,000 years to circle the sun one time. Many have called it Planet X. That's where the cold, calculating vibe really took root in our backyard, and the mammals terraformed Maldek, which was closer to the sun, in between Jupiter and Mars.
A 200-mile-long spaceship buried under Greenland, and nobody's noticed? Okay, my brain's already leaking. But go on. So after Tal blew up, where did the Anunnaki actually come from in the first place?
The Anunnaki, or Anunnaki, as many revisions spell it, were created by the Dracos 2.4 billion years ago on the planet Thuban in the Draco system. They were engineered and hybridized way back then, a deliberate reptilian creation designed for service to self-intensity. The UGG were then engineered through this same process as their worker race, prior to the destruction of the Anunnaki's home planet in the Draco system. These were not random visitors. They carried the shadow current from their very beginning. The book debunks the surface myths of gold mining slave drivers, calling them opportunistic wanderers kept at bay by Earth's guardians and the Andromedan/Zana teen councils to protect our free will. But the deeper transmission from Ra reveals this ancient engineered origin, the root of the rift that would later play out across galaxies and finally here on Earth.
Engineered by the Dracos themselves? That explains the cold, calculating vibe. So after their own planet was destroyed, they arrive on Earth post-Tal, already carrying that Draco shadow, and immediately start drama with the Maldekians. Okay, back to the timeline. Tell me about Maldek and this rift you keep hinting at.
Exactly. Approximately 700,000 years ago, the Dracos destroyed the Anunnaki's homeworld, Thuban. Large numbers of Anunnaki arrived in our solar system. By then, Maldek was already flourishing. A crystal temple civilization of big-hearted beings focused on unity. The Galactic Federation, Ra, and Hathors protected Maldek. This pissed off many Anunnaki. They saw their own race being protected while they were left out. This protection is what started the deep rift between the Anunnaki and the Maldekians, a wound that never fully healed, and would later play out in bloodlines, temples, and the very religions we still argue about today. The Maldekians were the big-hearted ones. Advanced crystal temple civilization focused on unity. But negative influences from the Orion Empire snuck in, mimicking light to push ego and control. The destruction of Maldek wasn't random cosmic debris. It was consciousness gone wrong. The soul crystal, the living heart of the planet, screamed its final note and shattered everything. 3.2 billion souls lost in one blinding flash of misused will. Now it's the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, and every human war, every nuclear fear, every unexplained dread of planetary destruction is Maldek's echo still living in our DNA. The book says, the echoes of that trauma are coded into our very cells. That's why the tender ache never fully leaves.
And then the splinter group comes to Earth and becomes the Atlanteans?
Yes. About 30 to 40,000 years before Maldek was destroyed, they took the original ship and left Maldek. They arrived here on Earth and seeded what we know as Atlantis. Meanwhile, the Anunnaki, opportunistic wanderers, as the book calls them, had already begun their own project. They created early humans. Their lesser workers, the Mu or Ujiji, interbred with those humans and gave rise to the gentle giants we remember as the Lemurians. These were not the myths of gold-mining slave drivers. The book debunks that completely, but the deeper channel from Ra reveals the full picture. The Anunnaki were reptilian, from Orion, and they carried the same service-to-self current that had already fractured Ta'al and would later target Maldek. A rift developed almost immediately between them and the Maldekians on Earth. The Maldekians splintered further. Some stayed true to unity. Some were pulled into the drama. The Anunnaki pushed their agenda of control while pretending to help. And the higher guardians, the Andromedan Council, the Xanatine Alliance, kept them at bay as much as possible to protect our free will. But the interference was real.
So Lemuria, the coral cities, the sound temples, the whales carrying singers, that was the Anunnaki's oops, our bad creation mixed with human DNA?
Yes, but it was their creation, the Ujiji, that birthed the most enlightened, advanced, longest-lasting civilization we have ever known on this planet. 150 to 200,000 years of pure heart magic. This was the race the Anunnaki wanted destroyed, just like the biblical story about the Nephilim. They were amazing beings who used sound for creation, frequencies that made crystals grow and hearts sink. The living Andara heart crystal beat at the center of their continent, like a giant loving heartbeat, connecting every person, plant, and wave. No kings, no money, no systems of slavery, just gentle giants who remembered how to sing the song of unity. Steve has seen it in downloads. Coral cities glowing, whales carrying the last singers to shore when the end came. And the end came because the rift escalated. Anunnaki influence, Draco pressure, Orion group negative forces, mimicking light to push ego and separation. It wasn't purely Lemurians versus Atlanteans. It was a proxy war for control of the three races then on Earth. Humans, Lemurians, and Atlanteans. Fear from Atlantis twisted the Andara heart. It screamed, a sound of pure sadness that still echoes in our cells. The entire continent sank in 3 days. That grief is why so many of us feel like we lost a home we never consciously knew.
3 days. That's faster than Atlantis went down, right? And Atlantis lasted how long after Maldek?
Maldek shattered roughly 200,000 years ago. Ra and the Hathors didn't abandon us. They helped bring the remnants to Earth. They placed the moon to stabilize our magnetosphere. Without it, our atmosphere would have been stripped long ago. Souls from Maldek were encapsulated in plasma light ships for healing, then gently incarnated into human bodies here. Ra and Hathors aided the Atlanteans rebuild multiple times. Atlantis flourished for the next 50,000 years. Crystal technology, high civilization, echoes of Maldek's unity, until ego and crystal fire brought it down 14,000 years ago. Again, the higher collective stepped in. Elohim, Ra, and Hathors helped the survivors rebuild. Those survivors became the Sumerians, the ones who carried the memory forward in their myths and temples.
Then Ra says they made a mistake?
Yes. Through Steve and the law of one material, Ra has been clear. They would have done things differently if they had known how the distortions would be weaponized centuries later. The truth the collective is now revealing is this. Ra physically withdrew or stepped back from direct intervention. The Anunnaki seized the moment and masqueraded as the gods themselves, claiming to be Ra, Hathors, Elohim. They created the hybrid bloodline starting with Abraham. His purpose was to enslave or destroy the Sumerians because of their deep ties to Maldek and Atlantis, the very lineages still carrying the cellular memory of unity and sound creation. After Sumer fell, the Anunnaki created two master hybrid races from their own reptilian blood mixed with human. Ismael, Ishmael, the Arab line, and Israel, Israel, the Jewish line. The ancient rift that began with Taal continued through Maldek and played out on Earth between Anunnaki and Maldekians never ended. It just changed costumes.
So, the whole chosen people narrative, the false trinities, the control through religion, that was the Anunnaki cosplaying as our saviors, then Orion perfecting the scam to keep the Atlantean and Lemurian remnants asleep.
Yes. The book calls it the shadow that learned to wear light. The Anunnaki were the original opportunists. Orion just perfected the long con. The distortions started with Abraham. False gods and temples and priests, twisting the original loving trinity of Elohim, Ra, and the Hathors into Israel and Ismael. Later, the Orion group took the blueprint and ran with it, creating the Vatican, twisting Christianity's trinity, selling it to the Atlantean remnants. That's most of humanity today, to keep us from redeveloping into who we once were. The book is clear. We are not meant to stay small. The veil of forgetting exists to make our choices real, so we can polarize toward service to others, 51% threshold, or service to self, 95%, but lonely and ultimately self-defeating. Behind the veil, we choose anew every day. The Anunnaki distortions were designed to make that choice harder, to harvest loosh from fear, division, and endless war. But the universe balances perfectly. For every shadow, there is an equal light. The 69 million Ra collective incarnate right now. 69 million Hathors, 36 million Elohim, 774 Seraphim, 777 million Venusians, Arcturians, and Syrians, 1.4 billion Pleiadians. The math is on love's side. The light forces are here to counter the 4.37 billion shadow forces and constructs. And many of you listening carry those numbers in your own lineage. Ra, Hathor, Lyran, Venusian, Atlantean, Lemurian remnants waking up.
That's why the book keeps saying you are more, and why Steve's own story, the dowsing rods confirming he and his entire family are Ra, the Hathor song that cracked his heart open, the entity attacks that escalated when he started downloading this truth. That's all part of the same war, isn't it?
Yes. When Steve began remembering, the attacks came. Alpha Dracos pinning his son, Zeta Reticuli showing up as plague doctors at the back door, entities growling, "I want to harm you." But the protection came too. Tensor rings spinning zero-point fields, century-old granite aligned due north through a living plant, channeling green ray heart energy straight into the galactic core. His wife, Elohim lineage, called down seraphim fire in a trance and severed the cords. His grandson, only 6, saw the same seraphim not as wings of flame, but as a purple dragon, and asked for a purple dragon ring of violet light around his mind and dreams. It worked. The dreams stopped. The intrusions fled. That's the book's living proof. The higher beings meet us exactly where we are. They never violate free will, but the moment we ask, truly ask, they answer in the language our soul can hear. Steve's grandmother, who called him in the middle of the night during his darkest drinking years saying, "I'm praying for you. I'm thinking of you. I love you," is still with him now, merged with a circle of loving presences after she passed. She chose to forego immediate reincarnation to stay as protector. That unwavering love is part of the larger spiritual protection the book describes.
So the Anunnaki and Orion Distortions are still trying to suppress this remembrance through bloodline control, media, religion, even direct attacks on people like Steve who are bringing the truth out?
Yes. The agreements between certain Israel bloodline factions and the Orion group allow outsized influence in systems, finance, media, and governments. Not because those living people are evil, but because the hybrid lines carry the ancient contract to maintain the distortions and harvest Loosh. It keeps the veil thick so the light forces can't fully awaken the Atlantean and Lemurian remnants, most of us, to our true power. Wars, division, fear of overpopulation, suppression of birth rates, all of it is the Shadow's last desperate attempt to limit new cherubim-birthed souls from incarnating and tipping the balance. But the Creator's perfect balance cannot be thwarted. New children are being born against all cultural pressure. Surprise pregnancies, late-in-life babies, adopted little ones who feel ancient from day one. Every cradle rocking with new life is a victory song. The photon belt is pouring in since 2012. The veil is thinning. The song of Lemuria is rising in our hearts. And here's the new piece the collective is revealing now. The bloodline map is written in our faces and our DNA. Indigenous people of the world are the direct remnants of the Lemurians, the gentle giants who sang coral cities into being. That explains why they are so tribal and spiritual, right brain leaning. The whiter races carry the primary remnant of the Atlanteans, the crystal and fire people who built and rebuilt after Maldek. That is why they are so technical and left brain leaning. Arabs and Jews and a few other races carry the remnants of the two hybrid lines the Anunnaki created, Ismail and Israel. That ancient engineering project never stopped. It just went underground and rebranded. With there being 12 Anunnaki races to begin with, it explains the variations within the races we have today. On top of that, the 7 humanoid races they created had remnants that interbred as well.
And Hitler? Was he part of trying to break the bloodline game or just another tool in the harvest?
According to the collectives, Hitler was a complex soul, possibly a wanderer pulled into the service to self current, or carrying a distorted mission to challenge the hybrid bloodline control and expose the ancient agenda. The Orion Group used the entire event to generate massive loosh through global war and deeper division between Atlantean remnants. The real war was never the one in the textbooks. It was, and still is, the spiritual polarization behind the veil, service to others versus service to self, love versus control. The book is clear. Negative entities must skip the green ray, the heart density. They literally cannot maintain negative polarity while fully opening the heart. That's why compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional love are the ultimate weapons. They starve the shadow. Steve shares in the final chapters how even the traitors from Maldek and Lemuria have been forgiven. Most walk among us now in ordinary bodies, carrying cellular memory. Some wake weeping in the night. The song is louder than the scream.
So what do we do with all this, Rusty? I mean, my brain is full and my heart is on fire. How do I actually remember?
The book gives practical tools in every chapter. Walk barefoot on the earth. Touch the ground and say, I remember. I'm listening. Invoke Saint Germain's violet flame. Saint Germain, if you're near, please light the violet flame in my heart. It works. Use dowsing rods, simple L-shaped copper, to ask your higher self who walks with you. Steve confirmed his entire family line that way. Grandmother as guide, son and grandson as Ra, wife as Elohim. Learn sidereal astrology, the true stellar positions, not the frozen tropical wheel locked at the Council of Nicaea. Pull Ra's original tarot, the 22 major arcana as archetypal mirrors for self-study, not fortune-telling. The lovers for the great choice. The tower for ego struck by lightning. The star for hope of higher densities. Activate green ray through compassion. It's the density negative skip. It protects you. Create simple fields. Tensor ring, granite-aligned north, living plant in the center. Stand in it and feel the circuit complete. Most of all, ask. The law of one guarantees they cannot violate free will, but the moment you open your heart and ask, they flood in. Steve's grandson didn't need theology. He needed a purple dragon. The seraphim answered exactly as a 6-year-old could receive. They will meet you exactly where you are.
I'm doing it tonight. Barefoot in the backyard, purple dragon ring on, asking my higher self which ancient fracture I'm here to heal. Listeners, do the same. Share what comes up at devinecollectives.org. That's DEVINECOLLECTIVES.org. This isn't just a podcast. This is the reawakening. These light forces are counting on us all to remember. And if you're an indigenous soul carrying Lemurian blood, a white soul carrying Atlantean fire, or one of the Ismael or Israel lines waking up to the hybrid contract you never signed, the circle is calling you home, together with us as one.
Yes, the wanderers who stood on that final crystal peak 49,000 years ago and chose love even as the ocean took them. They are you, the ones who refused to let the song die. Lemuria is rising, not as land this time, but as heart. Feel it. Feel your own heart beginning to beat again inside your chest. Feel the Hathors humming behind your eyes. Feel Venus kissing your forehead in dreams. Feel Ra standing behind you, hand on your shoulder whispering, "You did not fail. You chose love when it would have been so easy to hate." That choice is the seed of the next octave. That choice is why Earth will succeed where no other sanctuary could. You're living proof that love remembers, even when everything else forgets.
Adonai family, we are home. The circle is complete. The song rises. Now the waiting is sweet.
Adonai, beloved, we are with you always. The light and love of the one infinite Creator live in you and through you now. Remember, transform. The veil thins. The reawakening has already begun.